time today to discuss with you my legislative priorities for the administration of elections in Ohio. Our goal here is essentially to enact changes in law that will make elections in Ohio run more smoothly and build confidence in our system of elections. As we prepare for the 2012 presidential elections, I hope by doing this we'll keep the focus on the candidates and not the process in which they're elected. I want you to know that during the course of the last year, and certainly in my first 2 months on the job as Secretary of State, I've talked with many people in coming up with this proposal, listened to many people, and considered a lot of ideas that have been brought to me. And you're going to hear me talk in terms of a couple of things when I talk about balance. That's the balance between access and accuracy in the process. Also being mindful of cost and the need for uniformity when casting and counting ballots. I'm going to go through some of the specific strategies that I believe that I will be asking the legislature to help enact, that I believe will help us accomplish these goals that I have stated. Now, I know that this might sound a little wonkish and maybe not as interesting as some of the things you've been covering around here lately, but try to bear with us, because I think the details of these issues are very important as we try to lay out that balance that I discussed. First off, we will be asking for the authority to have online voter registration and online change of address. And if you look at the method, or if you look at this past election in November of 2010, we did an informal survey of the boards of elections across the state and found that nearly half of the ballots that were voted provisionally were essentially due to the fact that people had moved and not changed their name or address and notified the Board of Elections. And we believe by giving them the ability to do this online, that we will improve that circumstance. We also know that doing this will help the local boards of elections save money in keeping their voter files up to date. And that is also, as I mentioned, an important priority. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to register to vote. Now, for those who will have concerns about precautions relating to people registering online and not having a signature, we will require that they have their state ID or their driver's license number as the identifying factor that they will use when registering online to build those safeguards in place. Again, balancing accuracy and access. We also want to work on improving, the process of improving and counting, the casting and counting of provisional ballots. I think these are some important statistics to know that there were approximately 105,000 ballots, provisional ballots cast in the November election. That 90% of those were counted without issue. That approximately 5% of the ballots weren't counted because they were cast by people who were not legally registered in Ohio, and that's what this system is designed to catch. And it's really those last 5% of the ballots that we're talking about that come into that category of controversial in the cases where we've had close elections in the state. Some of the strategies that I want to employ to help make sure that people are casting their ballots appropriately is, one, I'll be asking the legislature for the authority to have the certification process put in place for the use of electronic poll books. Electronic poll books can be deployed in the state that would allow a voter to walk into a polling place and identify through the electronic poll book, or to ensure that they get to the correct precinct, and if this is not their correct polling place, redirect them to the appropriate polling place in their community. We think that that will certainly help improve improve the process whereby people are casting their ballots in the appropriate precinct. We also will be requesting that instead of just using the last 4 digits of your Social Security number when requesting an absentee ballot by mail or voting provisionally in person, that we have all 9 digits of the Social Security number. Other states are employing these strategies as well. This will help us have a useful tool. This will serve as a useful tool in providing people access to the ballot, but also, again, helping with the accuracy to ensure that the person casting the ballot is indeed who they say they are. We also believe that this will be a good tool in helping in the long run fulfilling the goals that we have for making sure voter files are kept up to date and the votes are counted. We also will ensure, we'll be pressing in the information to make sure that this Social Security number is not a public record and will not be made available, will not be, their Social Security number will not be compromised as a result. More accurate, a statewide voter database is something that you've heard me talk about before. We believe that this is a very important to helping make sure that our voter files are up to date, and we will be asking asking the legislature to give us the authority to require the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, the Ohio Department of Health, Department of Job and Family Services, Department of Rehabilitation, to provide us the data of change of address information that we can use to then update our voter file. This will be a much more top-down approach than has been used in the past. We also believe that this will help save local boards of elections time and resources as we attempt to keep our voter files up to date. We also are looking to have the authority to form an alliance with other states where we share information with those states to keep our voter files up to date. As you may recall, there were issues last year with that was reported in the news, over 5,000 deceased voters on the voter rolls. These are the kinds of strategies that we can use to help clean up those rolls and create more convenience and a smoother voting process. One of the things you heard me talk about earlier, when I talked about it, is uniformity. Uniformity statewide with our early voting standards is something that I think is important, and we will be looking to eliminate what's commonly referred to as the Golden Week. We will look to establish a 21-day mail-in voting time frame, 16 days in person, with the polls being open for a half days on Saturday and closed on Sundays, and then ending the in-person early voting at the end of the day on Friday before the Tuesday election to give the voters that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to prepare for Tuesday's election. One of the things that we are that I often hear people complain about is that there is no uniformity between how counties do these things, that some voters are given access differently than others, that this has, I think, led to the impression that perhaps sometimes our elections are not as fair and reliable as we would expect them to be, and I believe this will go a long way towards satisfying those concerns. And additionally, we will look for uniformity in how absentee voter requests are handled, and we'll be asking that the forms of the absentee voter request be treated the same in all counties. One of the things that, let me just go back and again say, I hope that you'll understand, I hope that I was clear in putting forth these ideas, that we are trying to get that balance between access and access and accuracy to rest. We are mindful of costs and the need for uniformity, particularly as the courts have emphasized that over the course of this time period. We are doing everything that we believe that we can to improve the process for people to vote. However, there is one thing that I cannot control that is the most important factor in all of this, and that is the responsibility of the voters to do their part. And there should be no problem for anybody in casting the ballot if they do 3 things which we have made easier to do. 1, being registered to vote 30 days prior to the election and keeping their information current, their voter information current. Knowing their polling place in their correct precinct, and remember to bring proper identification to the polls. If every voter does those 3 things, the process will run extremely smoothly. what we've done, what we're recommending here today are the tools that we think will make it easier for them to do that so that we can have a smoother election in the very near future. I'm announcing this today because I hope to get the legislative process started. We've talked with legislators on both sides of the aisle about this. We believe that we hope to get this started very soon. We have 617 days before the November 2012 election, and so we're giving everybody plenty of advance notice about what we'd like to do, the rules and the way that we would like to see the elections run, and letting the voters know that we're going to have a new set of tools to help them do their part in making sure that the elections are run smoothly and that we have confidence in the 2012 elections, and as again, that the elections will be about the candidates and not the process whereby we elect them. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions you have about our priorities.
John, you mentioned that you're going to prohibit counties from sending applications, from soliciting or telling voters that they can apply for absentee ballots by mail. Why is that? Why not go the other direction?
Uniformity, because we don't want to have different standards in different counties, where the time that the Board of Elections are open, or the process whereby you're allowed to cast your ballot or make a request, or how that's happening, is being done differently in one Senate district or one congressional district than it is in another. The courts have consistently emphasized, one of the challenges that we have in Ohio is we have 88 county boards of elections, but the federal courts have seemingly wanted to make the process of elections more uniform. I'm very mindful of that. I'm also mindful of the fact that people, the perception is that we're giving some voters an opportunity to vote at times when we're not giving others the opportunity to vote. We tried to make the balance. There's some people that will want it to be longer, some people that will want it to be shorter, some people that want the ballots or the absentee applications sent out, others don't. Uniformity, again, was the key here. Trying to pay attention to cost, particularly for smaller counties that can't afford what they have right now, what the responsibilities are right now. We felt that this is a good compromise between all of those interests.
As I recall, the last election, it was primarily the big urban counties did this. Is that correct?
Primarily, it wasn't limited to them, but primarily, I think it was. And here's the rub on that. Okay, is that some of them feel like this enables them to encourage more absentee voting, which helps them save money because they can reduce the number of polling places or makes it more convenient on election day. That would be their argument. The other counties would say, look, we carry the same costs no matter what, and early voting, absentee actually costs us money because we have to maintain the same number of polling locations and we have to pay for processing these ballots. There is no one way to do this that's going to make everybody happy. So we tried to find a middle ground. Again, I think that uniformity is incredibly important in administering an election that everybody believes is fair. And in a swing state like Ohio, you're not going to have any problem with either party or of these third-party groups or anybody like that helping you to find an absentee ballot request in your mailbox. You're going to have lots of them, and the need, I think, to expend taxpayer dollars to do this at the expense of uniformity is not worth it in that circumstance.
All right. I'll talk to the Democrats, but they might have a problem with this. Those big urban counties can be more Democratic.
It has nothing to do with any of that, Joe. This is about, again, if you look at many of the court cases that we receive, and if you look about a number of the complaints that are made, it's about uniformity. And we're trying to recommend that. If people in the legislature, as they debate this, have a better way to do it, I'm all ears. But like I said, I tried to listen, I tried to learn, I tried to think it through in the best way that we could to make it fair, and I think that when you hear this get debated in the legislative process, that it's more than likely that they'll come to the same conclusion I did.
Will you require an appropriation from the legislature, and what would the money be for?
An appropriation, I am looking for no additional appropriation authority to fulfill these requests. And again, being mindful of those issues, we tried to do this in a way that would be mindful of the concerns about budgetary issues, not only from the state's point of view, but from the local elections officials' point of view. We think many of the things that we're proposing here will save them money.
With that in mind, do you anticipate any of these things will require more poll worker training or different training for poll workers?
There will be some things, as there are in every election, that are done that will update what people need to know to make the elections run more smoothly. And we have, like I said, 617 days before the November election. One of the things about getting this done early, it will give us a couple of elections to run through these things to make sure that it is as effective as it can be before we get to November of 2012, because we'll have this November and hopefully the primary season to use these tools that we have available to improve the process.
Do you think the experience in these other states that you said 10 states have plan to have online registration, does that give you assurance that there's security in this online registration? This would be a change for a lot.
Yes, and I know that actually many of my Republican colleagues have some concerns about this, and I've reassured them that we have, using the identifier of the Social Security or the driver's license number or state ID number, that it will enable people to register online in a way that we can effectively monitor to ensure that the person that is indeed the person that they say they are is registering to vote. We also have the capacity to look at the potential if there are a number of these requests that come from the same IP address, that we can determine whether or not there's any funny business going on there. I think there are plenty of safeguards in place to allow this, and I would also appeal to their more conservative roots that this is going to help local governments and the people that you go see back home. It's going to save them money because when we do this top down and we update that information electronically, they don't have to have somebody back at the office keying all this stuff in at the local board and trying to update it and make sure it's right. We're going to start tracking a lot of
this. This would be done from the Secretary of State, but local boards wouldn't have to.
Well, we would be updating it. We would be updating it to them electronically.
Providing them
that
electronically.
way. And when their voter files are more up to date, it's easier for them to administer an election. It requires fewer people to update their voter files, and people should reduce, in theory, the number of people that vote provisionally, which will make it easier on poll workers. Should make things on election day run a lot more smoothly if it does indeed do what we believe it will, is reduce the number of people that end up voting provisionally.
When do you